The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Tastes just like candy.
Welcome to Ask for Candy, where a bunch of powerhouse men and women get together online to talk about love, sex, relationships, and what it means to be amazing on the daily. This is for the Armed Radio people who are probably just joining us. The Facebook Live people are already trickling in. We've already sort of gotten into the show. But, you guys know who I am. I'm Candace Harper, lovecoach.com. I help hardworking women and couples overcome the impact of abuse and be vibrant, alive, magnetic, and passionate while creating healthy, intimate relationships. And I'm coming to you from the amazing Metro Podcast Studios right across from the Flatiron Building, or at least a couple blocks up from the Flatiron Building. It's very lovely down here in this neighborhood, and it's a great place to be. And we're about to get into the Epic Woman episode. Now, we're taking a little break from my summer of badass bachelors. As you guys know, Brian, hi honey, who just joined. All summer long, I've been interviewing bachelors and just, seeing how it goes, trying to get interesting men in and out of here. Single men over 35, joyful, purposeful, who are ready for relationships, because I just wanted to prove that they do exist. And they do exist. However, today I'm taking a break because I'm doing a big launch this week. And full disclosure, I also didn't work very hard to get a bachelor this week. I just wanted to take a break from it. So, if you guys wait until the end, I'll give you more of the criteria. If you are interested, we only have 2 more spots left. Then the theme is over and we move on to something else in September. But if you want to be an August guest, or you know somebody who should be an August guest, just let me know, and you'll hear the criteria at the end. But first, happy Monday, everybody. You're listening maybe with your TuneIn app on your smart device to Armed Radio, or you're listening in the garden on armedradioglobal.com. We're also on iHeartRadio, so don't forget to follow us and download your favorite shows. And for the streamers, we're also available on Spotify and on Spreaker. Or maybe you're live here with me on the Facebook, and I love it that you guys have joined. Gilbert says, what city are you in? Gilbert, I am in New York City, in the NYC. Of course, where else could I possibly be? Anyway, as if New York is the only city that exists. I sometimes feel that way. Or like I said, maybe you're live on the Facebook, and if you are, I want you to join my group, Ask for Candy, or you can also join both. Join Armed Radio Group News so that you can keep up with my podcast, and there's a bunch of other really cool podcasts that are in that group. Gilbert says, thank you. You're welcome, my love. Anyway, if you're here with us on the Facebook, you can also comment and question during the course of the show, because we like to have this be a conversation, not just like TV. Hi, Vincent, who just joined us. I want you guys to interact, because it's all about you learning, me learning, and we get to, we learn through communication. We love communication. But if you're shy, you can email me at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com, and I will answer any of those questions in a later broadcast. So, you don't have to feel, if you're introverted and you don't want to put all your business out there, you don't have to feel like you have to. We don't do that. We don't shame anybody here. So now this is the time on the show when we share. So if you guys have any groups or any places, any friends that you want to share right now, I'm going to share this in the Ask for Candy group, the Ask for Candy, the podcast group, which you guys should be joining. And I'm also going to share it on my business page, which is Candace Harper Love Coach. And that's another thing that I want you guys to like, so that you're part of that community, and that when I send things out, you actually get them. So there, I just shared to both those places. There's a lot to cover tonight. There's so much to get through. So like I said, I'm Candace Harper, lovecoach.com. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth. And my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others, so that we can all have our best possible love life. And that is why this is a conversation. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating or relationship rules or rights and wrongs. We're not here to shame your love life, whatever your situation is. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. So tonight and every Monday night, we're going to do what we do, which is to have conversations that engage, educate, and or enlighten all of us in the areas of love, sex, relationships, and vibrating high. But tonight, like I said, instead of having a special guest, I wanted to do something a little bit different. You know, it's very rare that I'm just like me solo, but you know that I fill the time. You know I can talk through the whole hour, so it's not that big of a deal. But it is a little bit special because if you've been with us and staying until the end, you know that I am gearing up to do the Epic Intensive, my 12-week program for women of color who have survived parental or partner abuse and want to start creating healthy relationships. So that's a big undertaking, right? I mean, I feel like, first of all, I feel like it's something that is for all women, that all women, you know, and all men too. I mean, mental wellness is something that we all need. But what I want to do specifically with this program is serve people like me, my sister, myself. I want to serve people who, are still looking to overcome certain challenges that I've overcome and are still looking to cause transformation in their life based on having these specific things going on. So I don't want anyone to feel excluded behind it because, of course, there'll be something for you in it too. But, specifically that's what this Epic Intensive is all about. But what I wanted to do, because I'm getting ready to do a webinar this week, I don't do a whole lot of webinars, is I thought this would be like a really good opportunity to hash out some of the nuggets and talk about it with you guys, because I feel like you guys will give me feedback and, we'll get to talk about whether it feels like it's valuable, and you can tell me some things that you might need to have involved in the webinar and in the intensive and in the learning and the training. And, I really want to know what it is you guys want to talk about, what you want to open up about, what you want to heal, all that good stuff. So let me get really specific though about who the webinar is going to be for. And, you can choose to identify yourself in it or not. That's up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. But, here it goes. Specifically, it's for women of color who have survived parental or partner abuse and are ready to thrive emotionally. And the first intensive is going to focus on the mother-daughter relationship. So if you have a toxic mother-daughter relationship, or you've survived a toxic mother-daughter relationship and you suspect it might be affecting your love life, that's what this intensive is going to be all about. It's also for hardworking, resilient women who desperately desire more ease, balance, and joy in their life, right? Who doesn't want more ease, balance, and joy? So specifically, that's what we're going to be talking about. Also, women who are ready to make internal shifts and create their best possible love life. Now, when I say your best possible love life, you guys know, if you've been watching, you've been listening, I am not a get a man to be happy kind of coach. I just do not believe in that. I've had men, and that didn't necessarily dictate my happiness. As a matter of fact, I've been in relationships, and that was some of the saddest times. Now, I'm not against relationships either. What I'm all for is being authentically true to yourself, to what you need at any given moment in your life. And your best possible love life is having a good relationship with yourself. So if you don't have that, it doesn't matter whether you're single or in a relationship, it's gonna suck either way. So, like I said, this is for women who are ready to make the internal shifts that say, I'm gonna be joyful, I'm gonna be happy whether or not I'm in a relationship. I may want a relationship, but if I don't have a relationship, I still can be joyful. I still can be happy. As a matter of fact, if I'm not happy or joyful out of a relationship, I'm not going to be happy or joyful in a relationship. That's just how that works, right? So also women who want unconditional love and know that they are deserving of healthy relationships. Just by our very existence, we are enough, we are deserving. And if you know that, but you feel like what shows up in your love life does not mirror that, this is for you. This whole intensive is for you. And women who are tired of struggling emotionally, physically, and or mentally with LOVE. The thing about my intensive that's coming up, and what I'm going to be talking about on the webinar, a lot of it has to do with like the mind, body, spirit, sort of holistic way of, transforming ourselves, because I honestly believe that we all know this stuff, especially, I'm a woman of a certain age. You've been on this earth for a few decades, 4 or 5 decades, whatever. You know this stuff. You know the stuff that's going to make life easier. What are things that are workable, what's not workable, but it's really difficult to apply it because obviously we come with all kinds of baggage and conditioning and experiences that dictate something different. So, I think it's really important to have it be a holistic mind, body, and spirit experience. And so that's what we're going to be talking about on the webinar, how you actually get a holistic mind, body, and spirit experience. How do you make that happen? So what I'm going to teach on this webinar, and this is what I want you guys that are watching live right now can give me feedback. I know it's always mostly the guys that are on. And what kills me is that you guys get such a bad rap for not caring about, personal growth and stuff. But I really think that, you guys are very involved, and I love that, and very committed to growing yourselves and also having balance and joy and ease. So with all of this stuff that I'm talking about, feel free, gentlemen, to chime in with, anything that you think would be good feedback on, some of this information and some of these nuggets and some of these points of conversation that we're going to be having. So what I'm going to teach on the upcoming webinar this week: how you can have a healthy love life by making a difficult or abusive past work for you. Right? That's a good one, as opposed to work against you, which is what we do as human beings. We have experiences, we have traumas, and then we make decisions and choices. And so whatever experience we had, whatever trauma we have starts to work against us, even when we don't even know it. It's like a blind spot. Next, I'm also going to teach what healthy boundary setting really is and how to actually get your mother's voice out of your head. So for all of my women out there, because I'm speaking to women, but I know there's men too, but for all my women out there who have taken on their mother's voice, and you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. However you criticize yourself, whatever you say to yourself, your inner dialogue, the stuff that you took on from what your mom used to say, either to herself or to you. Usually it's to herself. Usually what we mirror is how she feels about herself. Because even if you had a mother that was very loving towards you, if she wasn't loving towards herself, that's usually what we mirror when we become adults. So, what we want to do is get our mother's voice out of our head. Not because, it doesn't have to be anything bad. It's not because we have, we're harboring ill feelings against her, but what we want to do is become self-defined, right? So part of the learning is how do we become self-defined women, take our rite of passage, and actually just, be who we are based on choice, just because we can, like clean the slate and not take all of that stuff on, because that's part of her history and who she was and what her experiences are, and that's part of her mother's history and who she was and what her experiences are, and so on and so on and so on. So, we're going to learn about how we can break cycles and start from a clean slate and be who we choose to be, right? Another thing that we're going to learn is how to stop attracting narcissists, fuckboys, unavailables, and just start experiencing unconditional love. Now, whenever I say unconditional love, people look at me like I'm an alien. They look at me like I'm crazy, because people don't think that it exists. Like it's this, people talk about it and they talk about wanting it, but we don't generally behave in a way that we believe that it actually exists, right? Because if we really believed that it exists, we wouldn't sit around worrying, we wouldn't, try to control other people, we wouldn't be pining away and hoping someone calls, we wouldn't, in a relationship, it just wouldn't be so contentious if we really believed in unconditional love and that it's possible and that it's something that we can give to each other if we're willing to give it to ourselves. Also, what you never want to do if you truly want peace in any relationship, and what to do instead. So we're going to learn about that on the webinar, within the 6 shifts that we're going to talk about tonight. And then the last one is one of the biggest mistakes that we as women of color make when it comes to our love lives. Now, when I say mistake, I don't want anybody to go into like a wrong-making story where you're immediately like, oh, here you go telling me I made a mistake. Because that's part of the pathology, right? Like, we don't want to be made wrong. We don't want to be told that we're wrong. And that's perfectly reasonable. Nobody likes to be told that they're wrong. So it's not about being wrong. It's about we do what we do based on what we know at the time, and we don't know we're making a mistake. When we're making them, we don't know we're making them. And there's always some area where we're making a choice that doesn't work. And we'll keep making that choice that doesn't work, not knowing that it's what's exactly standing in our way. So we're going to hit on what is one of the biggest mistakes that we make when it comes to our love lives. Unknowingly. This is not the blame game. That's not what we're doing. We're just examining so we can shift and have a new result, right? Okay, so I don't know how you guys feel about that. If you guys that are on the Facebook Live, if you want to make any comments about that, you have any questions, or did it trigger anything for you? Is there anything that you're thinking about behind it? Go ahead and just, put it in the comments and we'll talk about it. In the meantime, hi Stephen, who just joined, and Sherman, hi honey, it's good to see you. In the meantime, I think we should just go ahead and get into the 6 shifts and talk about it, right? So, like I said, this webinar is specifically about overcoming a toxic mother-daughter trauma and creating a healthy relationship, right? So, I'll ask you some questions as I go through these shifts, what comes up. And, you guys feel free, even though I'm speaking to women, obviously you're here, so you can definitely talk to me and you can definitely say what you think about it, because I think everybody's input is valid. Okay, so let's go through the 6 shifts. The first one is to heal the past, right? So we all know this. It's like they always say, heal your baggage, that's why we go to therapy, all that good stuff. But the first shift it's about, the healing is about owning how we have co-created the past and taking what we can learn from it. So, what's important about the first shift is the forgiveness aspect. Whenever you say forgiveness, people have all these misconceptions about what forgiveness is, right? But, it's not about like being like Jesus-like or pretending that you don't feel resentment. It's not about stuffing anything down or acting like everything that happened to you in a traumatic relationship is okay, or, that you're not entitled to your feelings about it, whatever negative feelings that you have or had. That's not what forgiveness is about. It's not about victim blaming. It's not your fault if someone showed up in your life in a way that didn't work for you. Hi, Candace, who just joined. It's not your fault, so it's not about taking on what they chose to do. But what it's really about is, what can I take ownership of so that I can make new choices? So what choices did I make based on the trauma that are still affecting my life today? So if I, going through I can use my own mother-daughter relationship as an example, because, me and my mom are in a really, really good place. And she's elderly now, so she's going through dementia and different things. But, when we talk, it's, there's a freedom in it. And that never used to exist. And that goes all the way back to being a kid and, her mothering me in the way she knew to do it. She did what she knew to do, right? So nobody has any rule books around this. And I had to get to a point where I had to see her as a human person and not just my mother, just a human being learning. And that took adulthood to understand that, right? But what I really had to understand is, what did I make up? What did I decide? What choices did I make about life based on what she showed me or what she taught me, right? So, picking dudes that I had no business dating, things like that came out of, the choices that I made to sort of, protect myself or, have a way of being that would keep me at arm's length with someone, or protect myself from any sort of criticism. We go into sort of like a resistance, for what we don't want. And if you are in this personal growth conversation, you know that what we resist persists. So, that's what we look at when we talk about healing the past. Like, what impact is the past still having on my present and therefore my future? It's not about, who was wrong and who deserves the blame and how that person owes me an apology. I can't forgive them unless they apologize to me. Like, all that stuff that we apply to forgiveness actually stops us from being able to free ourselves from, relationships that are traumatic or relationships that don't work. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's why we have these conversations, because it's not an easy thing to do. Also, we want to get to a point where not only that we see our mother as a human woman, but we stop holding her to some standard that no one has ever really identified. I always say it's like the Norman Rockwell painting. Like, everybody thinks that they should have gotten everybody who has a contentious relationship with their mother thinks that they should have gotten a different mother than they got. And when we do that as daughters, because we are mirrors of our mother, we also hold ourselves to an undefinable standard that we can never meet. So, what kind of impact does that have on our lives, right? So we want to get to a point where we can release that need to hold our mothers to that standard and let them be human beings, even if, they were completely toxic. They had their own experience that made them who they are, right? And I'm not defending, but this is what we want to look at, because as soon as we can take that ownership, we get to free ourselves from it. We get to define ourselves, right? And move forward peacefully, move forward with a whole new clean slate and create something new. So healing the past, number one. Number two, generate unconditional self-acceptance. So, once I get peaceful with what my past has been and where I've come from, and if you've been watching even the interviews with the Bachelors, a lot of them have said, one of the questions that I normally ask is there anything about your upbringing that you would change? And, I've had great guys on here, so most of them have said no. Most of them have said whatever I went through, whatever I dealt with, it shaped me and it formed me, and it's what has me living the life that I live today. It's why I'm who I am today. And so no, I would not change it. So that's what we want to get to, because when we can say that, when we can say, I accept, who brought me into the world and how I came into the world and what my early conditioning was like, then we can actually use it to our benefit. We can take what works, we can leave what doesn't work. It just opens up a whole new realm of what's possible in our lives, right? And just because something didn't work in the past doesn't mean that we can't have a different outcome in the future, but we gotta be willing to own and recognize what, like I said, what didn't work in the past, and be really accepting with ourselves, like really forgiving with ourselves. So that's, unconditional self-acceptance is forgiving yourself, right? And so shift 2, own our behavior without judgment, unconditional self-acceptance. All right, you guys ready for shift 3? I love it. Sometimes you guys are very interactive and you have like a lot to say. And then I feel like it's either that I'm dropping a lot of nuggets and you're just like pondering it all and you're taking it all in because I don't want to fire hose you, or, I don't know, I've scared you when you don't comment. But, feel free if something comes up for you, if you have something that you want to contribute around the things that I'm talking about, healing the past, unconditional self-acceptance, first 2 shifts. Shift number 3, implement self-definition. So like I was talking about earlier, it's the rite of passage. Most cultures have some sort of ceremony that is a rite of passage, right? I know if you grow up in the Christian culture, there's baptism, around the age of 13. In the Jewish culture, there's bat mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs. Different cultures have different things that are sort of your rite of passage, and the ceremony is great. But if, one thing we don't do in this culture a lot of times is actually acknowledge in conversation and communication when our child has become, an independent being, an independent individual. So it's very, very important, especially for women of color, that we do that for our daughters. And a lot of mothers maybe didn't necessarily know to do that. And if you had a traumatic mother-daughter relationship and your mother didn't give you that rite of passage, it's something that you can create for yourself. You can create your own rite of passage. You can become self-defined because you choose to. And you can do that in a myriad of ways. We have a way that we do it in the intensive, which I will be talking about, on the webinar. But the self-definition is really important. It's about getting purposeful and clear about who you choose to be. And I'm not talking about what you like and what you don't like, or your ancestry, which those, your ancestry you can't choose, and those can be really good things to know about yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm talking about is purposeful definition. Like I said, taking your rite of passage, going from being your mother's broken daughter to your own woman, your own independent, full-grown woman. And you want to be able to say that you know what you're here for and you know what lights you up and be true to it. And why is that? Because once we've made peace with the past and are practicing unconditional self-acceptance, we stop needing our mother's or anyone else's approval. right? When you can define yourself from a place of unconditional self-acceptance and, get into that place of peace around what the past is, then you can stand in who you choose to be, stand confidently in it, and you don't need anyone else to approve of it. It's your choice who you want to be, and that's part of emotional freedom. That's part of finding joy. That's part of being able to be in a relationship when you can stand in who you are, be healthfully in a relationship, because then you can speak up for what you want, what your desires are, and you can also overflow into that person. Two people overflowing is a very healthy love relationship, a very healthy situation. So number 3, implementing self-definition. It also takes away the need to control other people, because when you're standing in who you are and you're aligned with who you are, you don't need other people. Not only do you not need them to approve, you also don't need them to act in alignment. If they can't do it, they usually opt themselves out of your life. Like when you're really aligned with who you are, the people who you attract and the people that stick around are the ones who kind of align with what you're doing and what you're up to. And you don't have to chess piece people around and control people and do what we often do, cut people off emotionally, all of that stuff. So number 4 is to get creative with your life. So, we want to be co-creators with God, the universe, whatever you want to call the power in your life, when we listen to our inner desires and get expressive. And so whether it's telling our dreams to other people, expressing it through, whatever media we choose to, letting ourselves be fully expressed in a way that works for us personally is the most important way to begin creating healthy relationships. So when we're willing to let people know who we really are, we allow them an opening to know us and decide whether they love or hate us. But, it's coming from an authentic place. And those who understand you and see you and love you are the people that you want to attract. And those who see you and hate you, it's okay. It's okay, because either you're triggering something in them that they need to heal, or they're just not a person for you. But it does make life a lot easier. It does make this whole transformation a lot easier. It makes creating healthy relationships a lot easier. So we've gotten through four of the shifts already. So heal the past, generate unconditional self-acceptance, implement self-definition, that's one of my favorite ones, and then get creative, get fully self-expressed, right? You definitely want to do that. So I don't know, what do you guys think about that? You guys are so quiet tonight. I kind of love it in a way because, I like to keep talking, but in a way too, I do want to know what you think. And also, if you feel more comfortable, you can, when you come back on the replay, I always engage with the comments and things like that. So feel free to comment about any of these things. And if you just agreed, you can hit the like button or the love button and you can say amen, whatever, whatever feels good to you. So then number 5, we're on number 5. Begin a practice is number 5. So, when we talk about all these different things, like the healing of the past and the unconditional self-acceptance and the implementing of self-definition and the getting creative, like all that stuff, it sounds like, so easy and so Pollyanna, like you're just going to flip a light switch in your life. And then all of a sudden you're just going to be doing all of these things. And, but we know that after years and years of certain kinds of conditioning and beliefs and, dealing with the not enoughness and all of that stuff, that it's very rarely a light switch. It's just like if you decided you wanted to lose weight or get in shape and you'd have to start a workout program, right? So, you don't just go into the gym and all of a sudden you're lifting 300 pounds and, running 15 miles if you haven't been working out, you've been sitting on the couch. The same thing with personal growth. The same thing with, wanting to cause shifts and transformation in your life. It's like you really want to allow yourself to practice and grow into it. So, like I was saying earlier about the intensive being a mind, body, and spirit practice that will support you, what you want to have is things that you do daily that support your new thoughts, your new beliefs, whatever beliefs that you have shifted based on the forgiveness, based on healing the past. So you're going to need support for that because, here's the thing. We can forgive someone, specifically in this situation, our mothers, and she's still behaving in the same way. Let's say you have a mother who's very critical, very hard on you, and she's still behaving in the same way, and when you see her, she's still very hard on you, she's still very critical. Then in your shift, in your transformation, what you're doing is finding an internal way to be with who you are, stand in who you are, and not go back to where you were before. So that takes practice. It takes practice. And I'm a big believer in setting healthy boundaries, but I also believe that boundaries are internal. A lot of times we think that boundaries are about cutting people off, telling people how they need to behave around us, letting people know, what they should do, as opposed to whatever they're doing that bothers us. But that's not healthy boundaries. That's just kind of controlling the external, right? And sometimes you can control the external, but most of the time that's not sustainable, because people are going to be who they're going to be unless they're transforming themselves too. But, when it comes to setting healthy boundaries, it's really about what's going on with me internally. So having a practice, whether it's a meditation practice, a yoga practice, maybe something that you listen to on a regular basis, whatever, it's very important to have a set of practices that you do that support you in strengthening your self-definition, strengthening your unconditional love for yourself, and strengthening your forgiveness and how you have healed the past. What you want to do is just keep getting that muscle stronger and stronger so that you're unfuckwittable, so that the people around you can be who they're going to be, because we don't have control over how they're going to be. Whether it's our mother, our father, our siblings, our friends, whoever. Like, when people trigger us, that means that we got to heal something within us. It's not anything you can do, to force them to change or have them be different. And, like I said, boundaries are something that are for you. So how do I set boundaries for myself? Like, I don't want to be triggered by this thing anymore. So the boundary is that I'm going to heal it. I'm going to heal it so that it's not something that triggers me anymore. I know I'm fire hosing you, and I know, hi Shantan, who just joined us, and I know I'm giving you so much information, but there's just a lot of information. But I promise the 6 shifts themselves, they're simple. It's just, it does take practice. So number 5, we want to begin practices, daily things, whether it's daily affirmations, daily meditation, daily yoga. With my intensive, that's one thing that we do set up. We set up a structure for practices. What are going to be the practices that work for you? So whether it's that you start a yoga practice, because yoga is a perfect metaphor for transforming your life. It's, something that you like when I started out doing yoga almost 20 years ago, I couldn't hold downward dog for 20 seconds, and now it's a rest position. So it's like, it's a metaphor for how we grow mentally, right? And it helps to apply whatever we're learning mentally within our breakthroughs and things that we're experiencing physically. So that's what we do. We begin a practice. We develop a life's practice. And then number 6 of the 6, I would say they're critical shifts. Number 6 is find your community, right? We all need a tribe or a group whose main purpose is to support and grow each other. So that's why, a lot of us go to church. That's why we join clubs. That's why we gather together, with people who are like-minded around, certain activities, because we're community-oriented people. And so, when it comes to growth, a lot of times, what I try to do, and a lot of clients that I've had, and people that I know, a lot of times we try to go this alone. We try to do this growth thing in a bubble, as if we're going to be able to do it completely by ourselves. It's like a lone wolf situation, which, it works to an extent. But, the whole idea here is we're creating intimate connections. And so in order to have intimate connections, you have to have partnership. You have to be able to be with a group, right? You have to be able to have a community, have a tribe, to practice that. It also gives you accountability. You get to be accountable for what you say it is that you're trying to create in your life. And you get to be accountable with people who are also doing the same thing, so you're all speaking the same language, right? So that's why it works best if you find a community around all of this. And so, I believe that it's absolutely paramount. And, you know this. If you're like I was and spending years trying to heal and transform it on your own, then you just know that ultimately it's not sustainable. It's like the bad neighborhood of your own head. You're overthinking, you're trying to, make things happen, and there's just nothing being reflected back to you, right? When you don't have a community that you're working with. So the 6 shifts, let's go back through them. Heal the past, accept yourself unconditionally, unconditional self-acceptance, define yourself so that there's no approval necessary. You don't need anybody to approve of you and say that whatever you're doing is okay. Express yourself, get fully self-expressed. Begin a practice, a structure of practices around your life, and find your community. So, you may already know these 6 shifts. And this might be something that you think about doing all the time, but if you do, you also know that they are challenging, very challenging to apply to your life. So we can walk around, it's almost like the idea of going on a diet, right? You think about dieting, and then you can do it for a little while, and then trying to maintain that and sustain it can get very difficult. And to stay on any sort of like long-term program that you put yourself on, right? So that's why we do it this way. This is why we do it in groups. We do it in 90 days. In 90 days, it's like you're developing new habits, new practices, new thought patterns, new ways of being, new ways of thinking, and you're doing it with a group of people who are also doing the same, who are keeping you accountable and supporting each other. And so in 90 days, you wake up with, things like the love life and the mother-daughter relationship that you really want, and the love of self that you deserve but never get around to actually having. And I'm not talking about, mani-pedis and taking yourself on trips. Those things are great. There's nothing wrong with them. But I'm talking about that internal love of self, like knowing how to listen to your own voice, listen to your own intuition. Like I said, be self-defined and know who you are. So, that's why we created the EPIC Intensive. Like I said, EPIC stands for Empowering Practices for Intimate Connections. And what's going to happen is the registration for the EPIC Intensive is going to open up by the end of this week. And the webinar where, I'm going to go through these nuggets again. And what's been good, I have to say, for the people that have been watching, you guys can let me know what you think. It's been good for me to hash this out with you guys, because then now I can go back and clean up whatever's extraneous. Because, it's like one thing always leads into another. So if I start talking about healing the past and forgiveness, it segues right into the unconditional self-acceptance and then forgiveness of the self, and then it just starts to snowball, right? So I could just keep going, but what I want to do is make sure that this is palatable information and that it is organized in a way that it helps people, that it actually makes a difference. I know the journey that I went on, it had these 6 shifts, and these were the 6 critical shifts. Obviously, through the course of, actually making these transformations, there's probably 1 million shifts that you'll actually make inadvertently. But these are the main 6 to be focused on as far as, how am I going to have this be different? How am I going to not let the past and this past relationship that was traumatic keep impacting my life today and keep impacting my future, right? So yeah, registration, like I said, registration opens up at the end of this week. I start the webinar. The webinar is premiering on August 18th. So I want you guys to come and check that out and listen too. I want you to go, and I'm actually going to put it in the comments right now, because I want you to go to the website. It's the epicintensive.com. I'm typing it in so that you guys have it in the comments, and you guys at Armed Radio, you can certainly, if you can get on your computer, you can go check it out. It's the epicintensive.com. I want you guys to go there, and then if you sign up and you want an invite to it, then I can send you an invite to the webinar. Make sure that you get on the link and make sure that you're on the newsletter. So like I said, the focus will be overcoming the impact of a toxic mother-daughter relationship for the sake of your life, your love life. We are turning stressed out, overwhelmed, and abused daughters into epic women. So if you think that your lifelong relationship with your mother may be negatively impacting your love life, this is the intensive group coaching for you. And if you want to heal, master the skills to create healthy relationships, start all over from a clean slate, and attract the ultimate love of your life, you can also use the link on my business page, Candace Harper Love Coach, to get connected. pre-registration. This is even before the end of the week. And become an epic woman. And then this is the part that I didn't even tell you about yet. At the end of the 90 days, we go on a retreat. And for this first one, we're going to Jamaica. So we're going to do a completion retreat at the end of it, where we have a completion ceremony, sort of a graduation ceremony. We're going to have a great swag bag, and we're going to a place called Jake's Resort, where they have this place called the Pelican Bar, which is a bar in the middle of the ocean. I mean, it's going to be, and that's the thing too. Throughout the intensive in the 90 days, there's no drinking. So, we're going to have somewhat of a celebration at the end of this retreat. It's going to be a party. It's going to be, first we're going to go and probably have some practices like yoga and meditation, have our graduation, and then have a big party, a big ceremony to celebrate our completion. And that's it. So thank you guys for listening to me hash out the information for this webinar and prep for it. I know this is not the usual format. I know you're used to it being very chatty and very lively and all of that, but I appreciate you guys for humoring me and also just being on it, especially since it's mostly my guys that are here. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. So like always, I want you guys to follow me on Instagram. You can follow at Candy Love Coach and also follow at Ask for Candy. I think it's Ask for Candy Podcast on Instagram, because I got us a new Instagram where I am posting pictures and sometimes behind the scenes videos and things like that. So I want you guys to know what we're doing. And so back to our summer theme. So for the rest of the summer, which is only the rest of August, so we only really have 2 more shows, I'm going to be featuring Badass Bachelors. Now you guys know that I started out the summer and my whole point was to prove that there are good men out there, that there are good single men over 35 who are joyful, living in their purpose, and for all of the people out there who are saying that there's not, and living in that lack story, and living into their own prophecy. What I really wanted to prove was that it's not true. There are a lot of really great guys out there, and so we've had some really great guys this summer. It's been really, really good. And so now we just need 2 more. We're going to finish out the summer with our Badass Bachelor. So if you're single, over 35, living in your purpose, joyful, and you love to talk about it, you love to share yourself, you would be perfect. So I want you to definitely hit us up. And that's it. And if you know someone who actually fits into that criteria, then let me know. You can always tag them on Facebook, or you can tag them, I guess, on Instagram, and just let me know, and I will do the rest. I will reach out and contact them and get them on the show. And also shout out to the Ask for Candy podcast group, those of you who are watching from the group. Those of you who are not watching from the group and haven't joined the group yet, go ahead and join the group. Also, don't forget that we have a YouTube channel, because you guys know that I go back and edit these, and even though I'm not caught up, you can check out the YouTube channel and see what past shows to watch. And you can leave me a comment with the hashtag AskForCandy, and you can email me at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com, and you can send questions for me, questions for our guest, anybody that you want to know. So we have a few minutes left. I don't know who's still watching here. Let's see, Shanton joined. Candace, if you guys have anything that you want to say about everything that I covered tonight, it's been a quick show. Whatever. I'm just kind of I'm vamping now. We're normally it goes really, really fast and we always run out of time. But now we have a few minutes. So if you guys have anything that you want to interact about, anything that you want to say about any of this, feel free. Also, like I said, you can always come later on in the comments. So for the Armed Radio people, thank you for coming in live. Sorry we were a little bit late. I'm always with the technical difficulties. There's always something. But Mercury is no longer in retrograde, so wasn't terrible. Janelle helped me figure it out. Janelle is my sound woman for the night. She's off camera, but she's been fantastic. Metro Podcast Studios has been fantastic. For the Armed Radio people, I know that you guys are going to be leaving us very soon, so until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start feeling like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and then ask for candy. But when you guys have to go, and then you guys that are on the Facebook, thank you so much for joining me and being here and, watching it like TV, but that's okay. I still love you. Thank you for joining every Monday night. And I will talk to you next Monday where we'll have a brand new Badass Bachelor. And that's it. Have a great week and be good and take care of yourselves. And that's it. All right. All right. Bye now. Bye.
Candy, I call my sugar.